Every city has its secrets. Behind the glowing towers and flashing billboards, there are lives no one wants to see. And sometimes, the people we least expect, the ones with the most power, the most money, the most distance from ordinary life, are the very ones who stumble into those hidden stories. This is the tale of a billionaire, a man with more than he could ever spend, and a homeless mother with 2 fragile children and nothing left but hope. The night their paths crossed, everything changed, and it all began with one decision: to stop. She had lost everything but 2 tiny reasons to keep fighting. Amelia Carter once believed life had a rhythm: wake up, make coffee, kiss her husband, clock in at the bookstore. She believed in safety nets, in paychecks that came on time, in the certainty of tomorrow. But grief has a way of burning through certainty. When her husband fell ill, the hospital bills swallowed everything. She watched as savings drained, credit cards maxed, furniture sold piece by piece, until there was nothing left but him in the hospital bed. And then he was gone. Now Amelia sat on cold concrete, her back pressed against the rough brick of an abandoned department store. Her twins, Noah and Lily, curled into her arms. She wrapped her coat around them, though it was threadbare and too small. She tried to shield them from the November wind that slashed down Main Street, carrying the smell of fried food from restaurants she could no longer enter. Her children's cheeks were red, their lips chapped. They asked for things she couldn't give: hot chocolate, a soft blanket, a bedtime story read from a book. She gave them what she could: her arms, her voice, and stories remembered from the days when life was kinder. Fairy tales about brave little knights, enchanted forests, and giants who turned out to be gentle. Around her, the city rushed: businessmen in overcoats, women in high heels, their perfume trailing behind them, students with backpacks, couples laughing, tourists snapping pictures of the skyscrapers. But none saw her, none paused, none cared. To most, she was invisible, but that night, someone did see her. He was used to being noticed, but tonight, he was the one doing the noticing. Alexander Gray was a name the city knew well. Tech visionary, investor, self-made billionaire. His empire stretched across continents. His face had graced the covers of Fortune and Forbes. People whispered his name in boardrooms and followed his every move in the stock market. But none of that silenced the loneliness that filled his penthouse every night. His apartment was glass and steel, perched high above the skyline, but it echoed with emptiness. That evening, Alexander left a charity gala. He had shaken hands, given speeches, signed a check that would be paraded in the newspapers. Cameras flashed as he stepped into his limousine. But as the car rolled through downtown, he leaned against the window, his eyes catching the blur of the city's neon. He almost didn't notice her. Almost. But then he did. The car slowed at a red light, and his gaze caught a woman huddled beneath the glowing sign of an abandoned store. 2 children pressed against her chest, their heads tucked into her coat. Alexander stared. Something inside him twisted. "Pull over," he said. The driver frowned. "Sir, this isn't—" "Now," Alexander cut in. The limousine pulled to the curb, and for the first time in years, Alexander Gray stepped onto a freezing city sidewalk, not as a billionaire on display, not as a man in control of the room, just as a human being who could no longer walk away. One question opened the door to everything that followed. Amelia stiffened when she saw him approach. Men in $1,000 coats didn't stop for women like her. She pulled her twins closer, her eyes wary. Alexander crouched down so his eyes met hers. He didn't tower over her. He didn't look at her with pity. He looked at her like she mattered. "Are you hungry?" he asked softly. Amelia's throat tightened. She had learned that accepting help often came with a cost. But Noah stirred, whispering, "Mommy, my tummy hurts." Her pride crumbled. She whispered back, her voice hoarse, "They are." Alexander signaled his driver, who returned moments later with takeout food from the gala, bottled water, and blankets from the car's emergency stash. Amelia hesitated, but when she tore a piece of bread and gave it to Noah and Lily, the way they devoured it erased every hesitation. Alexander didn't just hand her the food and walk away. He stayed. "What's your name?" he asked. Amelia. And them? Noah, Lily. She hadn't said their names out loud to a stranger in months. Hearing them acknowledged made something inside her break. Tears filled her eyes, hot against her frozen skin. For the first time in forever, someone listened. She thought it was one night of kindness. She never imagined what would come next. Alexander arranged a hotel room that night. Amelia laid her children on real beds for the first time in months. She watched them sink into the pillows, their little hands relaxed instead of clenched from the cold. She sat at the edge of the bed, crying silently. She thought it was temporary. Tomorrow, she would be back on the street. But the next morning, Alexander returned. You don't know me, and you don't have to trust me, he said, but I want to help. He explained that his foundation quietly funded programs for single mothers, safe housing, job training, childcare. Amelia stared at him. Why? Why me? Alexander's eyes flickered with something old, something painful. Because once, someone did the same for me. With every small step forward, hope grew stronger. Weeks became months. Amelia moved into a modest apartment, her first real home in years. She turned the key in the lock, her hands trembling. Noah and Lily ran from room to room, their laughter echoing off bare walls. For the first time, Amelia exhaled. She enrolled in writing courses, reviving the dreams she had buried, becoming a children's author. She scribbled stories late at night while her twins slept. She drew characters, tested sentences, and began to believe again. Alexander visited often, not with grandeur, not as a savior, just as a man who believed in her. He brought books for the twins, encouragement for Amelia. People gossiped. Why would a billionaire spend time with a homeless woman? But Alexander didn't care. For the first time in decades, he had found a kind of wealth money couldn't buy. Beneath his billions was a boy who once had nothing. One evening, as Amelia thanked him yet again, Alexander finally told her his truth. When I was a boy, my mother and I were homeless. We slept in stations, under bridges. One night, a stranger gave us food, shelter, dignity. Without him, I wouldn't be here. I swore that one day, if I had the chance, I would pay it forward. Amelia's tears streamed freely. It wasn't charity. It was a chain of kindness, passed from one life to another. Amelia published her first children's book, dedicated to the stranger who believed in me. Alexander expanded his foundation, helping thousands more. The billionaire who once lived in glass towers now walked among the people, carrying a quiet truth. One act of kindness had once saved him, and now it had saved her. What if the person you pass on the street today is waiting for their miracle? One small act of kindness can rewrite destiny. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to watch another story on this channel, where the day everything changes might begin with you.